Hey everybody, we're at Rose Hill Plantation State Historic Site in Union, South Carolina. And today we're here because on the scavenger hunt for the state parks is a Hogan Boat exhibit. And it's only going to be here until July 9th, 2023. And today is June 27th, 2023. So there's very little time still to be able to get here to come see it. But if you'd like to see it and you like the video, now you know where it's at. So right here is the lovely restroom, and it's nice in there if you need to use the bathroom. And behind us is the mansion, and they're not doing any tours today, but that's okay because we've already been in there before. So we're going back to the caretaker's house to see the Hogan Boat exhibit, and I'll show you that and then we'll leave. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. I think we look pretty good today too. It's nice. You have to take a picture of this.
At least we don't have colors that fade.
I know. She was faded out in that Bucky's video, so she looks vibrant and full of life today. All right, so let's go.
Arrived.
So this is what we're coming for today, is the Hogan Boat, a brief history of voting rights in the U.S. So in this old log cabin, this is where the restrooms are at. And they actually got a light up there so you can see how the ceiling was made. I like that. Okay, so they said that to get to the exhibit, you have to walk to the caretaker's house. We've never actually been to the caretaker's house here. We usually go no farther than the park office. And that's the park office over there. And this little arrow here shows that we're on the right path to the Hogan Boat pop-up exhibit in the caretaker's house. So this says a family home. The structure in front of you was the home of the Giles family, who took care of Rose Hill from the 1940s through the 1970s. Louise Giles Browning lived here with her mother, Selena Giles, her husband, Johnny Browning, and Irene Johnson, and James Lyles. The house swelled with family, especially when Louise took in her nieces and nephews, the Jones siblings, during the summer and at other times. 3 of the Jones siblings shared their memories of the home in a 2019 oral history interview. So this shows how the house, as it appeared in 1973. Before moving into this house, the Giles family lived inside the Gist mansion. 3 of the Jones sisters recalled in a 2019 interview that the porch of this 5-room house always had water buckets on the railing and a swing where they could relax. And this was Selena Giles right here. And this was Louise Browning. And it says, Selena gave tours of the mansion to visitors until her death in 1951. Louise continued to serve as the caretaker and tour guide at Rose Hill until her retirement from the State Park Service in 1973. Yep. All right, you made it. And the exhibit's open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. And this says Hogan Boat, a brief history of voting rights in the United States. This exhibition examines voting rights with an emphasis on the role of the U.S. Constitution and the interplay between the states and federal government in determining who is allowed to vote. So, founding era was 1787 to 1838. So I'm just going to try to take this nice and slow if anybody would like to read it, because it is a lot to take in. So this is interesting right here. It says, this 1880 engraving depicts women at the polls in New Jersey in the good old times. It was a reminder to the 19th century Americans that some women had been able to vote in the 18th century. This was that Jacksonian era to the Civil War from 1828 to 1865. This one is for the Civil War and Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. This right here is voting in the Jim Crow era. This one over here is women's suffrage. And this one says, throughout the 1800s, women became more involved in battles for social and political reforms. Starting in the 1840s, women used those same organizational and advocacy skills and tactics in calling for equality and the right to vote. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, women succeeded in achieving the vote in 20 states and territories, yet a national suffrage guarantee remained elusive. Former President Theodore Roosevelt, running for a third time in 1912, supported the effort as head of the Progressive Party, but it took years for suffragettes, I'm going to get these words straight eventually, who picketed the White House and served prison time for their protests to persuade President Woodrow Wilson. Finally, the 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, guaranteed women access to the ballot box. And it says suffrage is one right which no one person or class has the right to give or withhold. This over here is the Civil Rights era. This one over here is enfranchising new voters. I think that's all of them. Is that all of them?
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to look at the house since we have not been in here. This is the fireplace.
Right. And stove. Because you got your frying pans, you got your kettle. And that's what you cooked on.
The butter churn.
Yeah, butter churn. This right here was to fan the fire.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll go back in history.
Oh, Mom loves whenever she can teach history.
This right here, you put it on the oxen or cattle.
Mm-hmm.
This right here was a meat grinder.
Mm-hmm.
This right here, I think, was, I think that was put on the mule. This right here, that was your shingles to put on top of the house when one blowed off. These right here was your forming tools. That's right there was what,
Thrasher?
yeah. Thank you.
Yes. See, I know a little bit of my history.
And this right here was planter.
Mm-hmm.
And that bell right there was to let you know it was time for dinner.
And these old
Everybody
chairs.
did not have fancy chairs back then. They was just regular. That was regular chairs. If you had that to eat off at a table,
You were doing good.
you were doing good. This right here, I don't know what that was for.
Probably some kind of wood carving thing, maybe.
Right.
Like they would sit on it and
And
pull
like making the great woodwork.
yeah, that's what I think it is.
But the stool right here was made out of log. They bored holes in it, and this was a tree.
Look at these chairs up there in the attic.
But this right here was your weights.
That was weights. And that's a bale of cotton.
But this right here was the scales. You weighed them. You took whatever the cotton bale, you put it up there, and you weighed it.
All right.
And you sort of had a table like this to eat off of it.
Yeah. Looks very sturdy.
It was. You couldn't turn it over.
So now Mom's going to tell us about the holes in the floor and stuff.
All right. These right here is wormholes.
And what kind of worms are those? A regular worm?
Yeah. All right, right here, you look through the cracks, and on a good day, you could see if you had chickens in the yard, they would be under the house.
They were smart. They were getting some shade.
And see right here, this right here was a pine knot, like a knot in wood. And you could actually see the dirt. And I lived in houses like this, a house like this. That's the reason why I put my note.
Yep.
And this right here, got another knotting hole. See?
Yep.
People got it made this day and time. They don't want to go back to what I lived in.
I know. I always say, thank God I was born when I was.
That's right.
Look at the walls over here. There's a lot of history in here.
Yes, they are.
So we just left Rose Hill looking at the Hogan Boat exhibit. It was very informative. Learned a lot of stuff in there. One of the interesting things was that unmarried women previously had the right to vote, and then they lost it for many years until 1920, and then they finally got it back. So that's only something that women's been able to do once again for 103 years. And just different parts that was really interesting. I did not have time to stand in there and read everything, but I did go in slow motion. Slow for me anyway. If anybody did want to stop and read any part of it, because I typically read everything, but you know, whenever you press for time, you can't. It was a lot to take in.
A lot.
Yep. And then we also had to take our picture for the scavenger hunt for the state parks, and then they had no kind of cell phone service back there, so then I was having to hold both of the phones so we could get our points. And then it was, gosh, we were all the way out here on the highway again, going before the Wi-Fi in the car even connected in enough to get them to go. But if you are in the area and you would like to see it, I think it's well worth a visit back there to get back there and read everything.
Yeah, even if you're not on the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, if you love history.
Go back and read it and really look at what women had to do without. Because women back then didn't have no rights. None.
I always say thank God I was born when I was, because I know my personality, oh my gosh, I would have been a you know what raiser. Because I don't like anybody telling me what to do. I have issues with that. So I would have had issues. So thank God I was not born back in the day, as I say. So God knew when I was supposed to be born, so he put me in at the right time in history, I believe. But as always, if you enjoyed the video,
But the house that she showed the voting rights in, I actually lived in a bigger house with tall ceilings, and we had no air conditioning, no heating. You had to go out and chop your wood for it to heat in the wintertime. No screens on the windows. So you know what? All these people that has got all this fancy stuff and don't think I didn't live through it. I lived through that period. We had
1 mile,
So,
bear
you
right
know,
onto Widmar Highway.
Just be thankful what you've got.
Yeah. A lot of people, like, I was talking with somebody, a lot of people wouldn't even want to live in a house like that today. And that is what they grew up in.
Well, you could look in the wood in the woods that had cracks in the floors. On a good day, if your chickens or whatever else was under your house, you could look in the cracks and see what was under there.
Yep.
So, you know, you had air conditioning in the wintertime and
Heat in the summer.
heat in the summertime. But the houses was built so you could tolerate some of that heat. The house that I grew up in, they had tall ceilings, but it was a little hot in there, but we still could live in it.
And you know,
Go past this stop sign,
Mom
then at the
is
next one, bear
only
right.
in her early 70s, so that kind of life has not been long left us.
No.
You know?
And if you had to go back to it, you would not
At the
know
stop
what to
sign,
do.
Yeah, you know,
bear
people
right
always
onto
say that
Widmar
they wish
Highway.
they lived in the good old days. I don't think so.
I don't want to live in
Yeah.
those days.
I'm glad I live in an era where we have heat, air conditioning, internet,
In 2.7 miles,
and
keep left onto
cars
SC 121
instead
South.
of horses and buggies.
And some of the stuff that Donna filmed in there, it shows different types of farm equipment in there.
Yeah, she grew up on a farm. She knows all that. So we're going to go ahead and end the video. If you did like it, like, comment, share, and subscribe if you don't mind. So
I would love for you to subscribe.
she enjoys watching subscribers. So we've hit another good run right now. We're moving along. So thank you to the ones that have stayed this time, and all to the ones that have been here since the beginning. Thank you for sticking with the channel.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and I know who you are, especially if you comment. I know my regular commenters, so thanks for that too. And we're going somewhere else.
We're going home today.
I think I've got a pretty good one for Saturday, as long as it doesn't pour down rain. I've got a adventure planned for that day, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's going to do it for this one. We shall see you later, probably around Sunday or whenever I get the video ready for that I do Saturday. So that's it. So toodaloo.